Welcome to the call, Shilpa.
Thank
Uh,
you. How are you? Well,
Great, great. So, Shilpa, you've been associated with Garware Institute since 1998. You've been a faculty member, you manage placements, and now you are assistant director there. So, how is the journey so far?
uh, the journey has been great, very, very exciting, not a dull moment, I can say, for the last 20, 25 years. Every day is challenging, something new to do. And as you mentioned in the introduction, there has been growth. I've been moving ahead in different roles. And it has been very exciting and very satisfying, I must say. And I have spent a very long time in the classroom now, though I'm in the administration, but I've spent a lot of time in the classroom. And that was really something that gave me the energy, gave me the enthusiasm to go back in the class because the youth has a lot of potential.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. So, would you like to introduce Garware Institute of Career Education and Development for us in brief?
Yes, yes, thank you. So, Garware Institute was established in 1985, and the vision was of late Padma Bhushan Abba Saheb Garware, and he, along with the then Vice Chancellor Professor Ram Joshi, constituted the idea of starting an institution which focused on career development and skill oriented programs. Now, skill oriented programs and growth therein and going has now been known in India since the 2014-15, when the central government actually acknowledged skilling and vocational education. But since 1985, Abba Saheb's vision was very clear, and he had this very clear in mind. So somebody who scores very well in their academics has a set path. They are going to be doctors, engineers, lawyers, and they are going to go in certain direction. Somebody who is below 60% is always looked at, oh, poor you, if you could have studied a little more, you would have a chance of a great career. And he was thinking of
Oh,
all those and he was also thinking about the vast gap that the education and the industry requirements were. So he was saying that there are everybody focuses on creating doctors, lawyers, and professionals, but we also required skilled people. Where do we get them from? And that was his main reason of starting Garware Institute of Career Education and Development. Since then, I am very proud to say, till today, we do programs which are non-traditional. We do programs assessing the industry, assessing what is the requirement of now's uh, economy or the now society, and we introduce programs accordingly. So we do non-traditional courses, we do skill focused courses, we do programs which have ample job opportunities. So even though a candidate may or may not get his placement on the campus, but still he gets his placement off the campus with the kind of program that he does. So we are still doing career oriented and skill oriented programs, and I must say, in certain segments of this particular skilling, we are one of the very, very important I say service providers for the industry of skilled employed people, employable people, and we're doing that very well. So we have tourism, we have something in custom clearance and freight forwarding, we have something in logistics. These are kind of areas that not many people have established, especially in the structured format.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Currently at Garware Institute, we conduct bachelor's, master's, postgraduate diplomas, undergraduate diplomas, diplomas which are full time, diplomas which are part time, and all of these we are doing some with collaborations. We are running some programs at the institute, and all of these amount to about 50 programs. So we are currently doing 50 programs, and we started with two, 1985.
Wow,
Yeah,
50 programs, huh?
programs now. Yes.
Wow, wow. Okay. So, as you rightly said, Garware has been a kind of a service provider in terms of trained, skilled, employable people. So, like, there are placements happening and actively happening, and these people are working everywhere in the industry. Wherever you go in the western part of India, at least, you will see people from Garware, like even on the junior levels, but at the same time they are working on the senior levels as well. Like I know a lot of batchmates of mine, they are like working in the uh, levels of like CEOs as well as directors, vice presidents, and what not, you know. So looking at this entire scenario, I would like to, like, before we talk of the tourism in the times of COVID, I would like to understand how was the placement for the year 2018 and 19.
So for the year 2019, in fact, if I can take you a little back, little bit behind also, since the last 10 to 15 years, our placements, especially for tourism, has been very, very, very structured and formatted. Every year, third week of January is set aside, especially the Thursday, Friday, Saturday is set aside for campus placements. Now, during this time, we try to cover, if possible, all the patches or all the spectrum of the tourism programs that Garware offers. So we have the master students who are ready for placements from March. We have the juniors of the masters, first year master students who are looking for the internships from March. We have previously undergraduate diploma in tourism and travel industry management, now bachelor's in travel and tourism industry management. So we have those students who are ready for placements. We have those students who are also looking for internship. So the whole activity is put into a gear, a kind of mode of motion in the first week of January, third week. The industry knows it. We, in fact, I'm very proud and happy to say that we start receiving calls right from the month of September and October,
Wow.
where we are told by the HR heads of the organizations that they want to be part of the process in January, and they would like to come on the first day when the students have not met other companies and make their offers. So we have tremendous response, and we have great support from the industry. Just between these 3 days, we have as many as 16 companies who come to meet the students, and all of them come with multiple offers. Like if they have one offer or two offer, nobody would really even make that time, because it takes, you have to invest a lot of time, because there's 60 kids, you need to meet them. So if they are not serious, they would not come. We have 16 organizations, 16 to 18 of them who come. There are certain organizations who have a policy of not coming for campus, so we make sure that our students are sent to them to visit. So there is another list of 3 to 4 organizations like this. uh, the records are all set. So in 2019 also, like just before January 2020 placements activity that we did, we had 100% placement. We had students with their offer letters. All the interns also were placed. Same was the case for 2019 and in 2018. So since the past few years, especially for the master's program or the postgraduate program, placement has been a 95 to 97%. One child or two child doesn't get an offer because maybe he is not looking to take up offer, or he has his own organization and he is going to go back to that. So that's how it is. So that is what has been the placement scenario in the last few years.
Okay, okay. So you mean to say before this COVID situation happened, the people were already placed, the students were
Yes,
already placed for the year
yes,
2020.
yes.
Okay, and then
It,
COVID happened.
and then COVID happened.
So what's your first-hand reaction?
So it has happened. Uh, Currently, our students have, some of them have been asked to leave, but some of them have been told that they have been put on hold. Not all of them have been released, but the industry is really wary and wants to wait and watch. But so basically, these juniors, I mean, the new entry level have been asked to either not join, give their resignations, or wait for another 3-4 months. With interns, we have just dropped the idea. We will give them some projects to do, and there's an alternative given by UGC and AICT also how to get this internship done. However, in service industry, going on field is very, very, very important. So we as a team are not very excited about not going on the field for internship. Also, as a part of their curriculum, they are anyway doing a lot of projects. So just one more project, but anyways, that's what is to be done because safety is the top priority at the moment. Um, Also, there are some of our students from the 18-19 batch or the 19-20 batch who who have lost their jobs or have taken pay cuts, but that is not major. But I mean, yeah, it's part of it, but not all of them have lost it. Yeah. So currently, our students are we are waiting till October, and we'll then approach the organizations again. Yeah. So we will do the same process for our passing out batch as well as our last batch again. Nothing will change.
So, like some time back, you said that Garware has been playing an important role in terms of providing ready, skilled, knowledgeable resources to the industry, and it has been playing that role like really great. But like at the same time, we see a rising number of entrepreneurs coming from various institutions like IITs and IIMs and other MBA institutions. So, how is Garware looking at the scene of entrepreneurship or the startups? What's how are you guys looking at it?
So thank you for the question because it is important. As I was talking about the placements, and I spoke that industry is very, very active in coming up with the placements. The same way, industry is very active in making contribution to the program that is taught. So I am going to take, though it's in a question form, I'm going to take this as a contribution to the content. So thank you, Pankaj, for that. The question is whether we are creating employers and not just good employees. And I will admit that at present, within the first 3 years of or 5 years of graduating, we are not creating many employers. We are creating good employees, but not employers. We're probably also creating managers, but
Okay.
not employers to such a large extent. Uh, I'm going to, with this current situation where we are, and with you also initiating this, we will take this up as a serious discussion when the program comes for revision. Having said that, when I mentioned that internship this year has been put on hold by almost 95 to 100% companies, we were thinking and deliberating that what should be given to them as an experience, the experience that they get on field, that they get in the travel companies, cannot be replaced with any kind of simulation projects.
Right.
Trust me, because that is live and they go during the peak season. So it is completely different experience. The adrenaline is very different, energy is different. But this year, the situation that it is, we really cannot help it. We cannot request any travel companies to take our students even without a stipend. So what is going to happen, we were discussing is as a team that what should we do, and that's when we thought that let us make them work on projects which are funded. So we have central government projects, we have state government projects, we also have many corporates who are ready to divert their CSR funds to these kind of different kind of activities. And tourism and sustainable tourism or responsible tourism is one of their agendas, which is also provided by the UNESCO. So this year we are working on those kind of projects, and this will be the first year that we will have some entrepreneurs, we will have some live projects, we will have it happening from the campus. energy for the younger people, also the juniors who are still studying. There'll be so much for learning for them too. So I assure you that in the next 3 to 5 years, we should be creating at least 25% entrepreneurs from the passing out batch. I think we'll
Great.
take that as a challenge as a team. Yeah, thank you.
We should look forward to it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. But have there been any cases in the past like people have passed out, I mean, have done courses from Darbari Institute and are like entrepreneurs today? Like I
Of course,
remember one of the cases like cultural Angan, it also happened in Darbar, like, from the students of Darbari, right? So
yes, yes.
similar to that.
Yes. So we do have many, but I mean, what I was saying was that, like, I cannot say that every batch creates an entrepreneur. We have many of them. We have many students who have their own small kind of setups, but want to go big way, and they come and join, and they use all of that knowledge that they have gained here, go back and put in their organizations. We have students now I do not remember his batch, but he went all the way to Himachal Pradesh. He leased a hotel and he looks after a hotel property in Shimla. So we have students who have been entrepreneurs, but that's not been the trend. They're one of their kind. Yeah.
Okay.
So now today we have, I think she was a 2010 or 12 pass out, but a young girl called Bhakti Rane. She has her own travel company, and she does offbeat destinations. So we have number of cases like that, but not as a culture of the institute. So
Okay.
that is something that I promised you, that we will make that as a culture. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, while we spent almost couple of months in the lockdown, everything was shut, nothing was working. But since last few weeks, the air travel has started happening, the domestic air travel, as it was promised by the government, and it's rising. Like thousands of people are traveling on daily basis. Like there was a recent report, like almost 75-80,000 people are traveling every day. Okay, so the numbers are rising. So with things like this, do you think we will be back in business very soon?
The numbers say so. One Shilpa Porkar saying is not going to make a difference, but the numbers are going
No
to
one
say
can
make it.
predict it actually, but
But Pankaj, if I can say this, which I know it's a little bookish or the theory of what we really talk about tourism and travel, but the right from the time that we can trace it back to, like we have the aboriginal paintings at Bhimbetka, you have the Buddhist trails in India, like right from Kanheri to Karla Bhaja to, they are all on silk route or business route. They were on trade routes. So travel has been an integral part, and let's be honest, we are a lot more aware of what our threats are, what is around us. But those our ancestors did not even know the threats that they were going to face. We
actually,
still had a Thomas Cook. We still had Vasco da Gama. We still had people who have invented these new continents and countries, and they have offered so much to us. So travel is something that is part of us. We are inquisitive, we are curious. Yes, it's a fear, but then there are a lot of us who will conquer that fear, and they are going to be the first people who are going to make the travel. These numbers in thousands. Another one of the major motivators of travel, or what makes us travel, is family and friends. There are thousands of people who are wanting to travel to be with their family and friends. Travel is something that we will not replace. We are just a generation. We are just a small link in this whole chain. You think we can really disrupt it? I don't think so. It has been happening for decades and centuries, and it will happen for centuries. We are just a small link of this. So it's a very temporary pause. Nothing is to go. Everything, we'll be doing everything back in the next season time. At least in
very true,
2021, we'll be
very
back
true.
to their. Yes, yeah.
Like let's not go back to whatever, like, generations before, but even if we see our, like, I started working since 98, and since 1998 till today, we see, like, there have been so many situations, like 9/11 happened, the recession of 2008 happened, the SARS happened, and yes, there was a temporary phase where people were not traveling, or there was a recession, but then the industry thrived back. As you rightly said, tourism will happen, the leisure tourism will happen, the corporate tourism will happen. It's just the phase that we have to wait for it to end, you know. But of course, like, we have to fight with it. So, concluding this call, Shilpa, I would like to hear a piece of advice for the students as well as their parents, because even parents play a major role as a stakeholder in terms of running an institution. Okay. And while I was speaking to some of the students yesterday, I got to understand that, there is pressure not only from their peers but also from their families. Like, what's happening? Why did you choose this field? Now, like, what are you going to do if at all you do not get a job this year or something? So I think you should address it. You should give some advice to them as well.
So I don't have one advice, but I may have a couple of them. So
Please,
please.
please.
So first of all, I just want to tell everybody, you, me also for that matter, because since last 2 3 days I have been a little low and I've not been feeling very great with things happening around. But very importantly, uh, one thing that keep reminding yourself is this too shall pass. And when we are going to look back and think about this period, it's going to be a period that has taught us a lot of things. It will leave certain scars, but it will not damage us really. Yeah. There is another very important, and because you also mentioned about parents, I'm going to talk about, because I am a parent. My eldest son is 23-year-old. I'm a parent. So I'm going to talk from my point of view and my son's point of view. As much I talk to them and I keep on telling them about financial wisdom and spend like this or not, don't do this or whatever, it just doesn't get it. Uh, life is the biggest classroom and it teaches everybody the lesson. It does not spare anybody. Unfortunately, there are so many of us in that same university at that same point of time, and we are all learning. Financial wisdom is something that we cannot skip. Lucky that they have learned at such young ages, at the age of 16 and a 20 and a 23 and a 25. Some of us, like me, I'm learning it at what age I am, at a 50. They always keep on saying that you should make sure that you are sustainable for 6 months. I think most of us who are feeling this distress did not really follow this advice. Now we have learned. We have to make sure that we are sustainable for the coming at any given point of time, 6 months. If that lesson we all have learned in these times, I think they are ready to face a lot or anything else that will come their way. I wish that they don't face anything more than we already have, but some of the lessons that they have learned, they should not forget. And even for the parents, as I'm telling you, as I'm saying, 6 months. 6 months is all I'm asking to sustain. Do not worry. Your child has not made a wrong choice. He's done the right choice. Let him be where he is. It's an industry for a country like India. It is the third largest foreign exchange earner. The amount of wealth or the economy support that tourism and hospitality industry gives to the country's economy is phenomenal. Your child or your student, yeah, your child is part of this. Nothing is going to happen. 6 months, but 6 months we have to go in hibernation just like a bear does. Just go and sleep for 6 months, wake up, it's like getting up the next day morning, everything is going to be fine. Yeah.
Everything is
So
going to be
let's not
fine.
worry, let's not panic, let's just stay positive. We will have to, but the fact is we will have to sustain for 6 months. In the meanwhile, we as an institute, we are going to try and make your child as better or improve from what he was yesterday or what he was today morning. So we will keep on working with them. You keep on working with us and them, and we all of us together, we will get through this. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shilpa, for your time, and I hope this meeting, this conversation will educate. Will tell people, will help them understand the current state of the tourism, as well as it will help them understand the challenges ahead and the opportunities ahead. Yeah. With that, bye bye.
Well, bye. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.